Hi class, this is Ms. Gutierrez again. I'm here to give you guys some feedback on your Essay 2 preliminary outline and works cited. My goal for today is to give you guys some examples of how to revise what you have so that you can make those revisions now before you turn in your draft on Monday. That way you have a nice solid draft to work with us. Let me go ahead and hide my face here so you guys can focus on the screen. So first thing that I would tell you is that when we look at these types of outlines, what we're looking for is clarity. When I see your thesis, is it connected to your essay topic? Are the sentences phrased in a clear and direct way, easy to understand? And what I'm looking for is this. Okay, this is what I should find in your thesis. It should be a direct answer to the essay question with specific reasons that support your claim, your position on that question. Then when I look at your paragraphs, right, so for us we asked you to write one body paragraph here. I'm looking for two things. One, is it focused? Okay, are you directly answering the question using evidence? And then related to that is, do you have the structure? So, which is this. So this is a little bit more detailed than what Ms. Tuttle provided, but it's the same information. It's just trying to give you guys more direction. I noticed some of you guys maybe were confused of what a lead-in was or signal phrase, so I just wrote it out this way. And literally when we grade your papers, paragraph by paragraph, body paragraph by body paragraph, this is the checklist that we go through. We read your first sentence and we look for this. Right? Do they have this? Do they have this? Next sentence. Do they have this? Right? Do they have, literally. So it's a really good checklist for you guys to go over after you write your first draft, before you turn it into us. Does my body paragraph, my first body paragraph, have A, B, C, D, E? Like, go sentence by sentence and then make your revisions there. Okay? Because otherwise we're going to tell you the same thing, and you probably want to use your time a little bit better. So here's the post, here's the directions, right? So your thesis and one body paragraph, including 2 correctly formatted quotes. A lot of you guys were not able to do that. So obviously you guys should try to focus on completing the discussion board using the directions that are given to you, these guidelines, so that you can get the full credit. But for the purposes of this screencast, what I'll do is I'll just give you feedback on how to revise. So Kelly, you were the first one that showed up here. Hi, Kelly. I'm going to go ahead and give you some feedback here, and then I'll go through a couple of other students and end there. Okay? So the first thing is, again, looking at my checklist, clarity. So I'm going to read your thesis, and I'm looking for, I should know what the essay topic is, and I should know the reasons that you have to support it. So in yours you say, the wealth gap or income inequality impacts an individual's, apostrophe S here, individual's ability to achieve upward mobility from just about everything the media puts out. So I was with you up until here. This is not an example. So your essay question is essay question number 1. And as I told you guys, I think in the last screencast, I always like to have the multiple tabs open so I can go back to this. When you're writing a draft, you should absolutely have that essay question in front of you so that you don't get lost and unfocused while you're writing, which is super easy to do even for experienced writers. So the question is to talk about how this gap impacts someone's ability to move up a social class, right? And you said it impacts it from just about everything the media puts out. You need to be a little bit more specific. So what I would say to anyone is, what examples are you using? What are your quotes? How does that show that income inequality influences or affects someone's ability to move up a social class? And here you have a 1 quote in your paragraph instead of 2, but we'll just use this one here. We'll focus on this for now. You say the media does not simply mirror society, rather they help to shape it and create cultural perceptions. True, I would agree with that, I guess, but I'm not sure how that has to do with income inequality. And you don't have a topic sentence here for your body paragraph, so it just kind of is a quote hanging out there. I don't know where you're going. I'll read this next sentence. From the TV commercials that stimulate the consumer's mind thinking they have to have the newest fad, to the unnecessary consumerism among the people that continues to keep the lower class believing in spending more money than they have, creating a downward spiral rather than a way to achieve upward mobility within their class. So that's not phrased in the most direct way or in the most clear way. What I would suggest is that you break up that run-on sentence into smaller sentences. Focus on, what are you trying to say here? On the one hand, you're saying that, there's this idea about consumerism and TV and fads and unnecessary consumerism. And then here you're actually talking about social class believing and spending more money than they have. Okay, that may be a point you could use if you have evidence from the readings to support it, because spending more than you have is connected to income inequality, and if you're spending more than you have, that would definitely, I could see, could impact your ability to move up a social class. But you'd have to state that differently. So one suggestion would be to say, the wealth gap impacts an individual's ability to achieve upward mobility because, and then give those reasons, because consumer culture targets lower classes, pushing them to spend more money than they have, comma, and then whatever your other examples give. So that's my main comment for you. And I think when I was reading a lot of your other entries from other students, I noticed the same thing. The body paragraphs here are not in the correct form. Again, I would just go through this checklist. If you have any questions on them, please let us know, and we can go over them with you. Yeah, so here you talk about this quote, which has not really a lot to do with materialism and iPads and lower class living in the moment. I think those are good points, the stuff I'm highlighting, but you actually need quotes that show that, right? So that your reader can buy your argument there. And then, of course, once you have those quotes, make sure you organize your paragraphs in the right way. Let's move on to another one. Let's go to right underneath here, Mel. Mel, you have a lot of typos, but I'm going to skip them for now, and you're missing your paragraph here. You have a quote here that says, debate over inequality highlights sharp partisan divisions. Okay, but I'm not sure what you're going to do with that. Let's look at your sentences. Money must be funny in a rich man's world. Apostrophe S here too. America was once thought of equality. Okay, so let's go to these last two sentences, which I imagine are your thesis. You say, good education is a founding cornerstone to making good money later in life, but a good education isn't always available to everyone who wants or needs it. Good education needs to be available, I think you mean, to everyone to close the wealth gap between social issues in America. Again, you have a lot of ideas. It's really good to get them out there for your first draft, but when you're going to actually turn it into a thesis, what I would do is I would give you the same comments I gave Kelly, and that is use a very direct, straightforward cause and effect structure for your sentence. Answer the essay question. If you're talking about, it looks like closing the wealth gap, right, between social classes, I'm going to go back to this. Maybe you're talking about this question here, right? So answer the question. Say the wealth gap impacts an individual's ability to achieve upward mobility through or because, and then give those reasons, and then give a sentence that says what can be done to close the gap? What can be done to close the gap is is to provide good education to all social classes, or whatever it is that you're going to argue. But right now, as it stands, it's not very clear where you're going with the essay. Let's move on. This one, look, I'm just looking at this last sentence, which should essentially be your thesis, and you actually end with a quote, which is not very helpful to the reader, because you don't end with a quote, you end with the answer to the essay question. So it looks like here you say income inequality can be a motivator to succeed, but you need to balance the income gap because the rich get richer and it will further divide us and lead to a collapse of our way of life. Again, I'm not sure how this has to do directly. How does this answer the essay question? So if you were sitting in my office, I would say, hey, I would read this and I would ask you, Miguel, how does this answer the essay question? Are you saying that... Okay, so again, let's go back here. Explain, give examples of how income inequality impacts your ability to move up a social class. Like, in what way does that happen? And since you don't have quotes here or a body paragraph, it's hard for me to see what examples you're using to come up with that. So first things first, find all your quotes that you want to use, or at least find most of them. Then once you do that, ask yourself, how do each of these quotes answer my essay question? Write that down. You can use that to create a nice solid thesis. Okay? Let me go to, here's one. Donna, you did yours on question 2, which is Maddie. I actually really liked how you set up this section here, because you're answering the question. You're saying it appears that Maddie's own choices led to the situation she's in. However, there are other circumstances that you're going to talk about that are beyond her control. So that right there matches exactly, class. So this is a good model for question 2. What this is saying, the only thing that's missing is that instead of saying here, because you need to give the examples that you're going to talk about in the reading, instead of saying if the manager decides it's more cost effective to automate, she'll be laid off, possibly unable to find a job, support herself. I mean, it's more than that, right? There are other things in the reading and in the other readings that the authors talks about, especially Mancio's. I know the class in America talks a lot about how other circumstances provide different opportunities depending on what social class you happen to be born into. So definitely make those revisions, find those other examples, and that'll help you kind of fill in that last because part here, this last part of your thesis. Your body paragraph, my main comment is to please review the structure we gave you. Your topic sentence starts talking about Maddie and the decisions she made, but then it goes and gives 3 different quotes from different readings about young mothers and unmarried mothers, and tying that into social class. And that's all that you can actually use in your paper, but they probably need to be their own paragraphs. Okay, let's look at some other ones. I'll just highlight a couple things. One, Chantel has a really good body paragraph, so you guys should look at Chantel's to see how each of those things, the A, B, C, D, what they would read like. You do a really good job with your paraphrasing. However, your thesis needs some work. If I would just end with one, I would end with Christian's, because his post also had some very clear and focused structure. So again, when I'm asking you guys to look at this as the checklist, right, you can look and see and read through, okay, if I'm following this checklist, this is one way that it could sound like. And also, the structure of the thesis is super clear and very direct. And then the body paragraph is in the correct form where the quotes match the statements. Okay? Let me know if you guys have any questions. Feel free to email me.